Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shootaround. I am the only host of this podcast, Rudy Saint-Claire, and joining me, as is tradition, above me is legendary AlexHoops and the one and only Rusty Jacob RR Buckets. Fellas, we doing good today?
Doing good.
RR.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've called you Jacob RR Buckets. So it's been about a week and a half since we last podcasted. The trade deadline has come and gone, and we are now entering All-Star Weekend. So what we're going to do today is go over the trade deadline and how we think it should have happened, because it was way more dead than it should have been. We each have one of our own trades that didn't happen but probably should have. And then after that, we're going to have a little game where we draft the best players who didn't make the All-Star team. So, fellas, without any further ado, let's podcast. Who wants to kick off this fake trade propaganda?
I'll go first. I've been preaching this for a while. I'm not surprised it didn't happen. I was hopeful that it would happen. It ultimately didn't, but I was hoping that the Minnesota Timberwolves would trade Kyle Anderson. And Rudy, I know you as a Grizzly fan are probably very upset to hear that. But Unfortunately, Kyle Anderson has just not been very good this year. Defensively, yes, Kyle Anderson has been a good defender. I'm not going to sit here and argue that he has not been a good defender. I get it. But man, just from an offensive perspective, he has been a tough sell. It's been very, 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 very rough. For some context, when he's on the floor this year, the Timberwolves have an offensive rating in the half court of 97.2 points per 100 possessions, and that's in the 40th percentile. When Kyle Anderson is off the floor for the Minnesota Timberwolves, give my internet 1 second here. When he is off the floor, the Timberwolves have a half court offensive rating of 103.7, which is a pretty massive difference. That's in the 80th percentile of half-court offensive ratings. The league average right now is like 98, something like that. I'm not going to sit here and say that Kyle Anderson is a bad player. I don't think Kyle Anderson is a bad player. I just think he is a bad fit for the Timberwolves at this point, and they honestly probably would have been fine trading him for like just a salary filler and then keeping Troy Brown Jr. and just giving Troy Brown Jr.
It's not even using his contract to get someone better with picks or something like that, but even just getting him off the team is something that you wish happened instead, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the big selling point with him is his defense, and let's get some more context here. The argument that I always hear is that, his defense is too valuable and they need him for his defense. And even though his offense is so bad, it's like, it doesn't matter because of what you're getting from him defensively. But when he's on the court, guess what? The Minnesota Timberwolves have a defensive rating of 91, which is really, really good. Awesome. When he's off the court, they have a half-court defensive rating of, wait for it, 92.6. So it changes by like 1 point per 100 possessions. They're still an elite defense, whether he's on the floor or not on the floor.
Yeah.
So like, to me, it's just like, what you're getting from him, great. That's totally fine. But does it outweigh that totally different offensive swing? Like, their offense is significantly worse with him on the floor. And the improvement defensively, like I just said, is like 1 point per 100 possessions. It's not that big, and they're still elite with him off. It's not like it's the difference between, they're elite with him on the floor and just average with him off the floor. It's like they're elite regardless of whether he's on the floor or not. So it's just like the whole value thing of like, well, you're getting more from him defensively. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. They don't need him. And then the other argument I always hear is like the intangible stuff where they're like, the leadership and he's a great locker room guy. I don't disagree with that. You might be totally right. And Kyle Anderson might be such a great vibes guy and perfect player to have in the locker room. Sure, you can have that. The Timberwolves are not some young team who are trying to establish a culture. The Timberwolves are a blend of young and old guys. They don't need like super steadying locker room presences. Anthony Edwards is the leader of that team, as we've seen. And Mike Conley, I've heard more about Mike Conley as a locker room guy than I've heard about Kyle Anderson as a locker room guy. So I'm not discounting the value that he might bring just from like a vibes perspective, but it's really, 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 really hard for me to come to the conclusion that like, oh yeah, the fact that your offense is garbage when he's on the floor, it doesn't matter because he's a good locker room guy. And, you're getting like 1 point per 100 possessions better on defense when he's on the floor. It's like, that just doesn't seem like enough to me.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Well, really well put, frankly. It's kind of like, why would you need to go so overpowered on defense when you have a guy like Rudy Gobert anchoring it along with like a good scheme and the rest of the team, Kyle Anderson isn't making them one of the best defenses in the league. He's just like icing on the cake, if you will.
I'm just impressed that Alex had 5 minutes of hands for Kyle Anderson. He just kept going.
Wow, this is not a Slomophobic podcast, but
Jesus Christ, Rudy.
Shout out to the C&D NBA show.
That you went in an entirely different direction for your trade than I did because you're thinking of Kyle Anderson. I went with I just wanted to talk about this because it's a rumor that's been discussed quite a bit. But Trey Young to San Antonio, I think, would make me very happy personally, specifically because of what that does to unlock Victor Wembanyama. I think it's you're getting it on two fronts. It's that Trey Young is finally going to be on a team that I think can be very good immediately. And Victor, he's already climbing up the ranks in the NBA right now. I'm kind of curious where he actually ranks. Like, is he a top 25 player already? I think probably, or close to it. And I think by the time we're in year 2, he's at least going to be a top 15 player. Do you think that's reasonable? Oh, Alex.
That seems reasonable. Alex said,
that was weird. My fault.
But anyways, I think Wemby can be in that tier pretty soon. Trey Young is going to elevate his offense even further. Like, we've seen how much Wemby benefits from that. Just like, throw it towards the rim, I'm going to figure it out. There's not a lot of people who are going to be better at throwing that pass in the league than Trey Young. Obviously, Trey has his own gravity offensively. I think when Wemby is really peaking offensively, his gravity and Trey's combined is going to be pretty ridiculous. And I would, that's the type of environment where if I was a shooter, I would love to play on that team while those two are running the pick and roll. And I think there's not much on the Spurs that I wouldn't give up to make this happen. I will say this can be predicated on Isaiah Collier. Is that how you say his last name?
I think it's Collier.
Yeah.
Is it Frank? I don't know.
But unless I haven't brushed up on draft stuff recently, but last I recall, he was a really high-ranking point guard. Maybe you take him and see what you can do with him before gutting a lot of your assets for Trey Young. But I think having that generational playmaking ability next to Victor Wembanyama, I think that's a duo that you just can't deny yourself.
I almost question if Trey Young would be going overboard for the Spurs, because in a perfect world, to me, like the whole, yes, you basically just want someone who's going to get Victor the ball in his spots. And I'm not saying that Trey Young wouldn't be able to do that, but to me, a really strong version of the Spurs around Wemby is like, you don't need a super high scoring point guard. And yeah, you obviously want to just surround him with shooters just because, the gravity that Wemby's going to demand when he has the ball, that's going to create open looks anywhere on the floor. And he's so freaking tall, he's going to be able to find them. That being said, I almost wonder if like some second side creators, like a star second side creator, like almost like a Paul George type player, where it's just like, yes, he's going to be open on the perimeter just due to Wemby's gravity, and they'll be able to get the ball and either shoot it at a high rate off the catch or attack those closeouts and create after that.
That's kind of the idea of Devin Vassell that you're hoping he becomes.
I would be shocked if Devin Vassell wouldn't have to be included in a trade.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think, and I personally would be willing to do that. My mindset behind why you would make this deal, my thing that I always emphasize with front offices, I've done this a lot with like the Dallas Mavericks with Luka, is like, I think the time frame that you have to build a championship team around a superstar player that you have drafted, I think franchises seem to take that for granted and like treat it like we can just have this guy go through 5 losing seasons in a row and it's not going to be upsetting to him. I'm thinking of like Anthony Davis in New Orleans, for example. And it's like, you'd be surprised how quick 4 years plus rookie max extension actually goes by. And if you get a guy like Wemby, who's going to be that generational talent and going to be a top 10 player sooner rather than later, I think you immediately push for contention as soon as you can without being too short-sighted. But like Trey Young is young enough that it's like, it's not like this is some timeline breaking
he's
move.
25 and a half years old.
Right. Like, so I don't think you're being short-sighted in it. It's like, rather than pussyfooting around trying to find a top 20 player that you can pair with Wemby, you just fucking do it and stop wasting time. And then you build the rest of the roster from there with that foundation. That's my mindset anyways.
I was sitting here trying to think because like Trey Young, obviously he's considered like available right now in the off season, or at least that's like the rumors that are being floated. Who knows if it's actually true or not. And I can't really, there's not really anyone else that's available right now. So from like a timeline perspective, I agree. Like Trey Young is really the only player of that caliber that you're like, yeah, we'll pretty much give up anything that we need to give up to get him. But the thing I would be interested to see is like who could possibly become available in the next, let's say, year, not even necessarily this upcoming off season, but like who's the next guy who's potentially going to ask out or like sneakily, start quiet quitting, so to speak.
The quiet quitter index, basically.
Yeah. And I was looking at the like landscape of the NBA right now, and I don't really know the answer to that question. Like, there's not really anybody. You just look at every team. Like, does Mikal Bridges eventually not want to be on the Nets anymore? I'm not saying that these are things like I'm not trying to report on anything, obviously, but like, does Mikal Bridges want out eventually? Does I don't know. There's not really. That's the only player I was looking like. Who the heck else is going to be asking out anytime soon?
It's hard to say because really Trey Young seems like the only situation where it makes the most sense because him and the Hawks have just been so mediocre and such a failure to build around his clearly all-star great talent, even though it took him a injury replacement to get in this year. I mean, what's he like setting some kind of record for like 30-point and 10 assist games in a season or some crap like that? Like the man's going off and still, maybe the NBA is just that competitive right now. But Trey Young, really not seeing very much success in Atlanta. I think he'd definitely have more success next to Wembanyama. I mean, got to be the best teammate he'd ever have, right?
I think literally within a year of those two playing together, they can be a contender tier if they put the right pieces around them.
Zion, Motown Noah in the chat pointed him out. I had him cross my mind as well, but
the spacing would be funky, but that'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm giving up less for Zion than I am for Trey, honestly, just because of availability.
We also got
honestly more because of fit. Honest, if I'm the Hawks and it's the Spurs specifically calling me, and like the options are Zion or Trey, it's like, yeah, I'm willing to give up a lot more for Trey just because I know he's going to be a perfect fit.
Yeah. Stacho in the chat also said that he's a Spurs fan, but he's not a fan of the idea of Trey Young in the Spurs. He'd prefer a guy like Chris Paul or Mike Conley with Trey Jones as a backup. Chris
Paul
Paul,
or Mike Conley in what year?
right?
Like,
Let's say this past deadline. Our job is
easy,
to fix this deadline.
Easy.
Mike Conley's cool. I'm not trying to be a dick, but like we're talking about if you trading for Trey Young is a move that affects the Spurs for the next decade. Getting Chris Paul or Mike Conley affects you for the next year to maybe 3 if we're being a little generous, maybe.
I think the Warriors maybe just maybe get better trading Chris Paul to the Spurs and picking up some scraps from them in exchange for that big contract. Get a guy like a Devontae Graham and some others. Make some shit happen that way.
That's
and
a name I haven't heard in a minute.
Right?
That just like I just had like a brain blast. I was like, oh yeah, Devontae Graham buzzer beater against OKC after they had already hit a buzzer.
Didn't mean to trigger you there.
Part of my logic behind this as well is I think like in terms of fit for Trey Young, you know, a lot of the talk about Trey Young and his value in the NBA right now is we have a lot of guys who can be your lead scorer and your lead facilitator, and it's becoming more common for that player to be a bigger player. And Trey is kind of getting left in the dust as a guy who's putting up numbers comparable to those bigger players, but he is a little guy. So I think you take the little guy who has the little guy limitations, you pair him with the 7'5" guy. Suddenly those limitations don't seem that small. Also, kind of funny to see those two play off of each other. And is the littlest guy and the biggest guy.
It could kind of be like a Steve Novak effect. Okay, so hear me out.
Brother,
listen, hear me out. So back in the day, when the Knicks were crazy good with Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire taking turns being injured and letting each other, hold the reins to the Knicks, Steve Novak was on that team and shot 3-pointers well enough to get him like a multi-million-dollar contract, this, that, and the third. But he's just like a near 7-foot tall, slow-footed white guy. So everyone saw this guy on defense who looked like an oversized gym teacher and was like, I'm going to ISO on you. No matter if you're Devontae Graham or, someone way better than Devontae Graham. And by a result of this, in theory at least, this is, not necessarily my baby of an idea, something I heard at the time and just internalized a lot, was that he had such a bad reputation on defense that it led defenders to make worse decisions on offense. So Trey Young could be the cone that leads offensive players into Wembanyama in the paint and actually become a good defender by being a bad defender, a la Steve Novak.
I mean, from what I understand,
you just described drop coverage.
Yes.
Right.
Also, from what I understand,
in a more fun way,
defensively, pretty substantially.
Yeah, he's playing the best defense of his career this year, as far as I know, which is even more of a reason it's crazy he didn't make the All-Star team this year until the injury replacement. But shout out to the chat.
I think if there's a world where you could keep Devin Vassell in that trade, I don't think there really is, but let's just say you threw everything but Vassell and Wemby. I do think that literally they could be a contender so fucking fast because I think Vassell would be the perfect third guy off of that as well.
Yeah, nothing like a Chris Middleton type to be your third guy.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think it would take a couple of years for them to actually genuinely win it because youth and learning and all of that. But I think that's a pretty deadly combination immediately.
Yeah. Well, my trade to, give us off a Trey Young to fix this deadline is all about my Knicks. A couple episodes ago, I adopted the Knicks as my team for the rest of this season. And they'd actually
from that episode.
actually did make a very good move at the deadline to get Bogey, to get Alec Burks, pick up some shooting, really add to their championship caliber roster. And I think that what they should have done in this move while they were at it was reroute the signing of this past off season, Dante DiVincenzo, along with Bogey, and however many picks it takes to get Jeremy Grant.
Well, okay. First of all, what do you mean reroute Bogey? Is this a 3-team deal involving the Pistons?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, while you're on the phone, be like, hold on, let me call the Trailblazers and add a guy like Jeremy Grant to the roster, who is best served as like a third or fourth fiddle on a high talent team rather than being the best player on a horrible team.
Rudy, I don't know if I can disagree.
Trying to take a bad player, a good player on a bad team, and put him on a good team.
Dante
understand.
DiVincenzo has been fantastic.
Yeah,
He's been
Dante
incredible
DiVincenzo
lately.
has
Been that much
really
better.
good.
Sorry, I only became a Knicks fan 2 weeks ago. You're telling me that Dante DiVincenzo
He's been
is that
incredible for
much
2
better?
weeks.
You're telling me he's that much better than Jeremy Grant, where this is just
he hasn't actually
blasphemous?
I don't even know
watched
if I mean it's
He hasn't
different. It's
actually
so
watched a
different.
game.
It's just like Jeremy. So like, yes, the theory of Jeremy Grant is like, okay, yes, he's not going to be your first guy. Probably don't want him being your second guy, but he might be good as your third guy. It's like, okay, that might be if like your first and second guy aren't very good, but their first and second guy are already like very ball dominant guys. It's not like a situation where Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are these like super egalitarian, like drive and kick kind of players, because they're not really. Like, they're both more individually slanted scorers than a team that would be suited for Jeremy Grant would need. Like, you can't put Jeremy Grant in this team and be like, oh, you're just going to be an off ball player, because Jeremy Grant needs to be like, yeah, he could be your third option, but he's still going to need the ball in his hands to be effective. And you're going to get such like a lesser realized version of Jeremy Grant. Whereas Dante DiVincenzo is like the perfect off ball player. Plus defensively, he's been so good this year. Yeah. And, Bojan is just kind of like shoring up the depth, really. They're scratching an itch that they desperately needed, which is just like guys who are going to knock down their shots and play off ball. And like, they traded Quentin Grimes in that move. And, Quentin Grimes, as much as I think he's going to be perfectly fine, the shot was shaky this year, and Bojan addressed that. Yeah.
Well, excuse me, I had no idea White Dante was so good.
No,
Jeremy
literally
Grant was so mid.
First of all, I just feel like I'd feel bad for the rim in a game where Jeremy Grant and Julius Randle are both playing and both having an off night. That'd be some of the worst. That'd be some of the worst basketball you'd ever see. But Dante this year, 13 points, 7 threes a game, shooting 41%.
You mean taking 7 threes a game?
Taking 7, yes. That's always what I mean, Rudy. He's making 3 threes a night.
Hey, that's not bad, I reckon. But,
no, like right. You don't need another. They don't really need another creator like that. I would argue you might need a better creator in the Julius Randle role, but I don't want Julius Randle and another creator. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'd just rather have Dante be that off-ball guy, and he's been super, super successful at it this year.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant like can play off-ball, but also like, you're not getting this Jeremy Grant if he is playing off ball. Like, you're getting a significantly lesser version of Jeremy Grant. That's all the numbers are taking a pretty massive hit, which it's like, it's fine, but is Jeremy Grant going to do that? That's kind of where I get hung up on.
And even if he does, you're going to get to the point where he's not worth that much more than Dante DiVincenzo is.
Right. That's reasonable. I guess I was just sleeping on Dante. I just assumed the approximation of Bogey and Dante would be, less than or equal to Jeremy Grant. But you guys know ball, and I am just the professional casual here who's only been a Knicks fan for a couple weeks. So pardon me.
Have you watched one full game?
Of course not.
Oh, my gosh.
Richie Miller gave us $5 USD earlier today to say, who is in the NBA do you guys play like? Also glad to see you guys make cleaning pools in Arizona go a little faster. Glad to know you're cleaning pools in Arizona, Richie.
Little Richie Miller lore.
MVP of the chat.
Yeah,
giving us a little bit of character backstory.
I mean, if we're allowed to use historic examples, my go-to is Anton Jameson.
I like to claim a hybrid of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird without any of the talent or height.
So you guys just a guy.
You guys have told me Brandon Ingram before, which I definitely
Brandon
see.
Ingram was the right one. That's what I would say for you.
Yeah, no, you got Bingram all over you. Speaking of Bingram, we're about to get into this non-All-Star draft. So unless y'all got anything else you want to throw in here into the middle while I transition, we can just get right into this. Alex, I figured you would get the first pick, and then we would snake down, mostly because as the only host of this podcast, I wanted to be the first guy to take consecutive picks.
So that also means I get screwed out of ever doing consecutive picks. Cool.
Correct. This is why it is my podcast after all.
All right.
Alex, with the first pick of the non-All-Star draft, who are you going to go with?
I'm probably going to go with, and this just assumes fully healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would say if they've been like out the majority of the season, or if they're injured but not in the All-Star game for that reason, it doesn't count. Like I have Ja Morant on the board, but
so I take LaMelo
I feel like it's
off.
I think LaMelo's played enough. He's had a couple longer stretches of play. Ja played 9 games. I think if you played double-digit games this season, then maybe that's enough to be on the board.
All right. Well, for my first pick, then, given all of that wonderful information, I'm going to go with. I'm going to go full homer here. Go with Jalen Williams.
J-Dub, first pick of the non-All-Star draft. Why are you going J-Dub first overall? I mean, obviously he's excellent and it's a homer move, but you gonna build around J-Dub, or is he just the most talented guy on the board?
Versatile wing. I know he can defend and he can score. In the month of February, he's averaging like 20 points per game. I don't know. You can make an argument. I've seen people. I wouldn't personally make this argument, but I've seen some people make the argument that J-Dub deserved to be an All-Star this year. I don't personally agree, but he had like the similar case that Derek White did. That was being pushed a lot of like, yeah, the counting stats aren't great, but the impact's incredible. This is just, at the end of the day, this is for fun. And I was like, I'm going to do a homer pick. Why not? The stakes are low.
No, I want to know how much those competitive juices are running through your veins, because there is one critical rule that I forgot to mention before you announce your first pick that I want to make sure.
Okay, well, then I might have to reconsider.
If you're really trying to win, the end is going to be determined, like the end result is going to be determined by the chat. We're using democracy to decide who wins.
Okay, well, in that case, now, yeah, the competitive juices are flowing now.
All right. So,
man, that changes everything.
Definitely not the best player available.
No.
He's one of.
I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with James Harden.
James Harden, number 1 overall. All right.
And I just want to say, for those who don't know, I've talked about it a little bit. I talked about it on the Media Pass today. James Harden is a good defender now. I don't know who needs to hear it. James Harden has been a good defender this year.
Like all NBA defense, or just like definitely positive?
Come on.
Hey, man. Sorry. I'm a Knicks fan.
I have been debating between 2 players, but I realized someone else I could draft, so I'm going to go...
Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams?
No. Good guess, though. I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy. All right. You going to build around Jimmy, or is this just the old Buckets side of your identity coming in to inform your bias? You have a plan? You're not going to let us in, though, are you?
Also, we're building this with the idea of fit in mind, like, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
This is not just a talent draft. God, I could do some things that are very fun, but I'm not sure if it's what I'm going to do or not. I'm going to go first overall pick, De'Aaron Fox for me, because Ja is off of the board. I would pick Ja, but alas, it's against the rules. And then my second pick, I really want to match him up with a big man. Rudy Gobert is probably my real best.
Just do Sabonis. Just do the funniest thing.
Fox is Sabonis. I'm not just gonna make the Kings. That's not gonna get chat on my side.
Just do Harrison Barnes with your third pick.
I'm gonna go Victor Wembanyama because I think that I don't know who am I thinking that's gonna actually fit on the whole screen. But I think Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox is probably gonna be about as good of a duo as you could get on here. Could have gone Rudy for the defense, or with some Grizzlies for homers like Jaren and Desmond Bane, but Alas, Jacob, it's your turn.
I'm gonna go with Lauri Markkanen.
I knew it. I knew it.
Dude, this is just the Jacob's favorite players draft.
Yeah.
No. No, I'm drafting with fit. I have a
Oh,
plan.
so you only like good players, then? That's what you're saying. Alex, who are your next 2 picks?
Hmm.
You're running harder out the one, I assume, because he has
shit. Yeah, you get 2 picks. I didn't consider that in my strategy.
I've got 2 guys in mind right now. I think I'm going to go with chat. Give me some answers real quick.
Oh, he's using a lifeline. We do have Zay and Asher in the chats, 2 of the strongest basketball opinions in the shoot-around community.
2 players I have in mind right now. Do I go with Rudy Gobert or do I go with Jarrett Allen? I'm leaning towards one, but I'm curious what the chat has to say about this. My logic, and I'll stall a little bit to get some answers. So my logic with Rudy Gobert is, of course, the defense is incredible and he can still do the rim running thing. The screening is great, perfect alongside James Harden. Jarrett Allen has been a sneaky good mid-range scorer this year. Like, to the point that I'm like, yeah, he is a good mid-range shooter. Like, you can't leave him open on the short roll anymore. And then defensively, you're still getting great defense from Jarrett Allen, even if it's not the same level of Rudy Gobert. The chat seems to be saying Gobert.
Yeah, chat is saying Gobert.
I also think Jarrett Allen's a little bit more switchable than Rudy Gobert.
True.
He's not the defender that Rudy Gobert is, but Jarrett Allen, versatility-wise, I think is a little bit better. You can live with him being pulled out onto the perimeter. I am probably, now that I'm thinking about it, this is really hard. I'm going to go with Rudy Gobert.
All right. Number 2 pick for Alex is Rudy Gobert. But who's the
Actually, you know what? I'm going Chet Holmgren.
Oh, he went full homer. He went full homer, ladies and gentlemen. You going Chet number 2.
I saw somebody in the chat say it, and I was like, you know what? That's a really good idea.
Harden and Chet is a crazy good
distrust the French, so no Gobert.
You could match Rudy Gobert and Chet.
Yeah, that could work.
Crazy
that
twin tower
would work.
defense.
Holy cow.
Before we make any more
progress, you guys got to stop saying this stuff. I got to make picks.
You asked the chat. Why not both?
Or I could go with a real solid 2 guard here. I'm kind of feeling a wing just so I can have that, 1-3-5 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Let's go Rudy Gobert.
Nice.
Damn.
That's quite the twin towers. Your defense is going to be locking up. Jacob, you're lacking a big man, although Lauri is 7 feet tall. I consider him more of a wing.
I'm taking this guy because I think you were going to take him if I didn't. I'm going Jaren Jackson.
You son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Cannot believe you did this to me. I can't have anything, can I? Best defender in the NBA, along with Lauri and Jimmy. Pretty good squad you got going there. See, I got 2 picks now. I'm going to go Franz Wagner as my 3rd pick.
It's a good
Interesting.
pick.
Definitely seems like the next best player on the board. Whoopsies. And who do I do next?
I definitely disagree with that, but
Desmond Bane at my 2, Franz at my 3, Wemby as my big man, and Fox as my point guard. I think I'm winning this one with any reasonable center or additional big man. I think you can lock this up. This competition is for 2nd place at this point. Jacob.
All right, buddy.
Who's your 4th pick?
Calm your shit, man. You know what? Give me Derek White.
Dang it.
Derek White, 4th.
Dang it.
He's a winning player, but
no one's gonna
this
score
early in the
on
draft?
my fucking team. No one's gonna score on my
this
fucking
early in the
team.
draft, you could have.
I know
had
what
him
I'm
as your
doing.
sixth
I
man.
know what I'm doing. He's not drafting another big man.
You don't know what I'm gonna do.
You'd be a fucking wild bastard if you drafted another big man.
Just Alex goes with the all big man squad, or just takes his bench and inserts them into the starting lineup.
I thought about doing a little bit of trolling.
A little bit of
Nothing
trolling.
Going real,
we do a little
real,
bit of trolling.
real off the wall here. But you know what? The more I'm looking at the guards left in the field, the more this guy kind of makes sense, even though he's probably more of a wing. I definitely need a wing. I'm going Jalen Williams.
J-Dub slips from number 1 overall all the way down to, what's that, 13th? Something like that. What's your 5th pick, Alex?
So I'm kind of thinking either another wing or a guard, but I want some more defense, even though I think the offense on this team would be ridiculous. I think I'm going to go with... Let's go Jamal Murray.
Best player on the board, probably just fell to Alex.
Give me Jarrett Allen.
Oh, now you get the big man.
Nobody is scoring on my team, dude.
Brother, look at my front court.
Does Jarrett have 2 R's and 2 T's? Is that right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, 2 R's, 2 T's.
It's going to be difficult to score in the paint on your team. I'm not too worried about scoring on the perimeter, though.
Yeah, once I get Jamal fighting over screens, we'll be fine.
All right. Time for me to figure out who my other big man's going to be. Porzingis would be really good. I do like Porzingis. Man, I just wish some all-stars were on the board. Sabonis would also be good to make this just the Kings. I really want to go Gobert on my team just to have that lockdown defense. But alas, that is gone now. If I really wanted more lockdown defense, I could go Claxton. But I think I'm going to go Zingas Pingus.
Zingas Pingus off the board.
Along with Wemby, dude. I think that's pretty good. And then
that's an odd fit. Just like taking a step back real quick from the draft, but that's a weird fit. I honestly don't like that fit.
Wemby
and
Porzingis?
Yeah.
Too much length for you? Not enough?
No, it's just
all right.
Like play style wise, it's just a little tough, you know? Because I think Wemby is going to be great in the post, and Porzingis is definitely like a good post initiator and scorer. Like he's consistently been one of the most efficient post scorers over the last few years. But like, I don't know, one of those guys is not going to get post touches. So what do you do with the other? It's just a little weird. I don't think it's like detrimental, but it's just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm gonna pair either one of them with another big man, I'd want them with like a more of a physical, rebounding, like more traditional type big to offset their more, modern tendencies. Whereas if you're getting both of them doing the same kind of thing, it's almost like, can one of these pussy ass big men actually take a jumper for once? Like, goddamn. Or sorry, not take a jumper for once. Get in the paint. Not that they don't do that, but like, I feel like, yeah, I would either just go full modern with the letting them be the crazy center ideal that they are with a bunch of wings, rather than trying to do double centers.
So, looking at just our starting lineups, I got Fox and Bane as my guards, Franz and Wemby as my forwards, and Zingas as my center. Or you could switch Wemby and Zingas, I guess, whatever. It doesn't really matter that much. Jacob, he went team defense plus Larry Markkinen with Jimmy, Laurie.
I mean, that's a damn good
Derek
offense,
White,
too.
And Jarrett. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're dealing with the cream of the
thinking
crop
of
of the
this-
NBA asterisks,
I'm
not the
thinking
All-Stars,
this is
though.
like, playoff Jimmy here, where he's like a really good initiator, and then you just got a bunch of shooting, and all these guys I think are pretty good at making decisions, even if there's not like a crazy like hyper talented playmaker available.
Alex with the true Twin Towers build with Gobert and Chet, along with Harden and Jamal and J.
I just want to see that now. I want to see Gobert and Chet play basketball together and just no one score in the paint ever.
It will come one day. For my sixth pick to lead my bench, I'm going with LaMelo. I think that's just a, I don't really have another guard. He can come in and fill in time where best player on the board, De'Aaron Fox, isn't playing.
Give me Kyrie.
Someone got Kyrie. I didn't think it was going to happen, but Jacob said, "You know what? Give me Jamal Crawford if he combined with Jamal Crawford." Alex,
what is okay?
What he's just as good as two Jamal Crawfords. Who's your sixth man off the bench? Let me take us to small time now, so we can see the whole thing.
I'm gonna go off the board here.
Oh shit!
Mm-hmm.
I'm going OG Anunoby.
OG.
That's just a name that should have been on the board.
And for my pick after that, this is tough because now I'm balancing like the fit and the talent thing.
You're nailing this, Rudy.
Thank you. It's harder because it's smaller.
You know what? We took Ja off the board, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. We got OG. I think we can stagger the big man minutes. Let's just get another wing.
Rob WOH gave us $2 to say hi, Pookie Bear. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate the $2.
I'm gonna go with Mikal Bridges.
Strong pick.
Actually,
brother.
Let's consult the chat again.
Oh, 2 lifelines, 1 draft. Alex, fraudulent team.
Mikal Bridges or Chris Middleton. And here's my logic with Chris Middleton. I know Mikal Bridges counting stats wise has been better. Chris Middleton is of like all players who have who are attempting at least 3 mid-range shots a game. Chris Middleton has been the best mid-range shooter in the entire NBA this year. He's shooting like 49% from mid-range. Absolutely insane. He can still shoot threes. Fantastic defense. You know what you're getting. I'm not really super worried about defense with this team, considering what I have so far. But Mikal, I think, has more on-ball juice just like at this point in their careers. And defensively, you're getting a lot more out of him. Yeah, I talked myself into it. Just do Mikal. Keep it Mikal.
All right.
I'm not worried about injuries, though, because that's, taken out of the equation.
Yeah. Jacob, your move with your 7th overall pick.
Just because I'm a little lacking in playmaking just a little bit, I think I just want to get like another on-ball creator. So I'm going to go with Brandon Ingram.
Ooh.
It's a good pick.
You got a Hooper's bench right now.
Can you not? Can you just say write his name properly, or just BI? Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. No Bingram for your team. Just Ingram. All right. So now time for me to round out my whole roster. I am thinking that I'm going to start off with Zion to complement LaMelo off my bench. I think that's an excellent bench unit. And then for my last pick, I do need a big man because I only got 2, and one of them is Tingus Pengus. I'm going to go Sengun.
I think you had enough center play personally, but you do what you
I know who my last pick is. Y'all are cooked. Y'all are so cooked. Oh my gosh. I'm going off board again, but I'm not. Yeah, Jacob, do your pick.
I'm thinking because I have Jaren and Jarrett.
You need some more J's.
No, I don't think I need a center. I'm probably thinking I just need another wing. Unfortunately, you guys, I was really hoping you wouldn't take Zion like a lot. Didn't
That's
happen
too
though.
damn bad. You cannot have the Pelicans
So,
with Kyrie off the bench.
I think I'm gonna go with Pascal Siakam.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I thought about doing him instead of Sengun, but ultimately I decided Sengun. Alex, what's your sleeper number 8th overall pick? Is it Chris Middleton or
It's
is
Darius
it
Garland.
Oh,
that's a good one. He's having a pretty bad year compared to.
He's been injured a lot, and I think he'll be fine.
Also,
there's too much like historic precedent that like I find it very hard to believe that this is what he actually is. And he's also having to play off ball, which I think he's best served on ball. And with this bench lineup, he'll be able to do plenty of on ball stuff.
Yeah, I guess just don't play him too much with James.
Chad is asking about Trey Young. Trey Young is an all-star. He's an injury replacement, though, so he is not eligible for the not all-star draft. I will now pose the question to chat. Who won this draft?
Why don't we make a pitch for how each of our rosters work?
Yes,
I like that. That's fun.
I will still create the question for chat to answer.
So my team, in my head, I think this team is absolutely insane. James Harden, I think, should have been an all-star this year. I think it's pretty wild that he isn't. He's having literally the only other season where he was more efficient was his during his 6th Man of the Year season in OKC. He's having the second most efficient season of his entire career. He's also having the most efficient passing season of his entire career when he's been the primary option and like primary facilitator. And pairing that with Gobert is ridiculous just in terms of like that pick and roll threat. That's going to create a ton of gravity, being flanked by Chet Holmgren, being flanked by Jalen Williams, and being flanked by Jamal Murray, who we also know Jamal Murray can do a ton of 2-man actions, whether that's with Gobert, whether that's with Chet. I think there's seamless fit for Jamal there. And then also just as a complementary creator next to Harden. We've seen Harden play very, very well off ball next to an on ball creator in Kyrie Irving with Brooklyn. It just worked super, super well. Injuries kind of are what led to that team not being very good. So I think Jamal and Harden as your backcourt is sick. And then you're surrounding them with 2 other floor spacers in Chet and J-Dub, and then Gobert as your kind of rim running Zubats in this scenario. But you're also getting absolutely elite defense from Rudy Gobert. Chet Holmgren is going to give you elite defense. I don't think he's going to make an all-defensive team this year. I don't know if he would deserve to make an all-defensive team this year, but he is a very, 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 very good defender already. J-Dub has been a fantastic defender. And what you're giving up in backcourt defense, I think, still works out, especially when you consider how this team would be defending largely in drop coverage. As long as your team's making, the rotations that they need to be making, funneling them into that length inside the arc is really where this defense would shine. You see the Timberwolves get away with it with Mike Conley. He's not the best defender in the world anymore, but he's able to funnel from a schematic perspective right into the paint and make sure that drop coverage is able to, do the math that it's designed to do. And then off the bench, you have OG Anunoby, who, okay, Jamal Murray Jamal Murray and Harden are giving up too many points. That's all right. Jamal, you're gonna go to the bench. We're gonna bring in OG. We're gonna run Harden at your 1, J-Dub at the 2, OG at the 3, Chet at the 4, and Gobert at the 5. That's deadly defensively. That team annihilate. And like I said earlier, James Harden has been a good defender this year. So that team just slaughters everybody defensively. You're not going to be scoring a ton of points on that team. That's easily like a 95 points per 100 possession half-court defense right there in that lineup. And then you take into consideration the fact that you have Mikal Bridges coming off the bench as well. And with his on-ball juice, you can get real funky with the lineups and have him be a primary creator in certain lineups when you have Harden on the bench or Jamal on the bench or J-Dub on the bench. And then you have Darius Garland who, okay, Harden needs a break. It's all right. We got Darius Garland who's going to accomplish pretty much the same task and also be able to do a little bit different things than what James Harden provides right now in his career. And then Darius Garland isn't perfect off ball, but I do think he has a decent amount of off ball juice that you can get even weirder with those lineups. I just think offensively, this team has so much, pathways that it could go down. The playoff versatility is what's really interesting to me and kind of why I drafted the way that I did. You could pretty much handle any matchup that you ran into in a postseason setting with this roster. I think there are very few teams that would be able to throw something at you that you couldn't handle with these guys.
All right. With that being said, Alex, you are leading the polls right now at 42% on 36 votes. Jacob, you have 39%
I don't get to do the
now.
pitch first.
You do. I'm just updating the score after his rant. He's taken over after saying his piece. So now is your chance to overtake
put their
him.
Fucking votes in already, man. That's not how it works.
Maybe they'll make another.
What
YouTube
do you mean?
Account. Maybe they'll make another YouTube account and vote again. Maybe they can figure out a way to change their vote somehow. Maybe there's another way. Maybe we'll do this running poll while we do the debates, and then afterwards we'll figure out those results and then run it one more time after everyone said their piece. So Jacob, your turn. Say your piece.
This is stupid. Okay. My first priority was defense, obviously here. Obviously, Chet and Gobert is a bigger pair of names than Jaren and Jarrett is, but I honestly think effectively the defensive presence would be pretty similar, with, if anything, a little bit more switchability with Jarrett Allen. You also have the
You only said that because I said it earlier.
Well, yeah, you did say it earlier, so you agree with me.
But you also said Gobert is a better defender than Jarrett Allen.
Jaren Jackson Jr. can also play center, so you can bring in Pascal Siakam if you want to have even more versatility on the perimeter. At that point, you've pretty much got a couple of guys who are able, at least the very least, handle themselves in a 1v versus 5 or 1-through-5 situation. Lauri Markkanen as your wing. You have a bunch of length here between Jarrett, Jaren, and Lowry. Derek White and Jimmy is about as good of a defensive backcourt, right? Backcourt. I always fuck them up. Backcourt that you can get. Lauri Markkanen being your worst defender on the floor, being a 7-footer who's not even a bad defender at all. Pretty good position to be in. And then like Derek White's been a pretty elite shooter this year. Lowry has been. Jarrett has had that mid-range shot. Jaren's 3-point numbers are worse than I thought they were. I was just looking at it after. I was like, 33%
That's why I didn't
over the last 3 seasons. This is more of a shooter in theory, it turns out. So I probably shouldn't have said that in my pitch, but I'm just being honest with you. If that floor spacing becomes enough of an issue, again, you can sub out Jarrett, go for Siakam. Maybe you go smaller and you put Ingram in there and slide Lowry down to the floor to the 4. And then if you're not getting quite enough creation, offensively speaking, Kyrie and Brandon Ingram off of your bench that's the best. Like, I think it's at the very least a better bench than Alex's. I do think the LaMelo Zion combo offensively could pack a lot of punch off of the bench, but otherwise, like, I supplemented my biggest weakness in my starters by putting more offense into the bench unit. And there's like a lot of versatility. There's a lot of length. Pretty much all these guys are players who make good decisions with the ball in their hands. There's not a generational playmaker here, but there's plenty of guys who can, on any given night, get 5 to 7 assists without much issue. Whoa. I don't know if y'all can hear that. It was loud as hell.
Yeah, that was weird.
Anyways, yeah, there's my pitch. Fuck you
guys.
Can
I like sidebar from the competition and just like discuss some stuff? This is removed from the task at hand. The fit of your team is like odd to me because I'm just like looking at your starters and Derek White is I know Jimmy can handle the ball fantastic and kind of initiate your offense, but Derek White as like a primary facilitator is just I'm trying
having
to
him as
imagine the type
secondary
of
one.
offense. I'm trying to imagine the type of offense that this team would run because it's just odd. Like I don't know. It's
I'd
interesting.
probably do a lot of pick and pops with Lauri Markkanen as a pretty heavy foundational piece. Jaren mostly being a floor spacer, Jarrett as a lob option in the dunker spot or stretching out on those mid-range shots. And again, just everything's spread pick and roll these days. Just Jimmy Lowry spread pick and roll.
That's just not true.
I mean, kind of. I just highlighted that it's not no playmakers. It's just no great playmakers. I don't know. I mean, you can also just sub Derek White for Kyrie or Ingram and just have more creation there than Derek White. Honestly, I just knew he was going to go. Like, Kyrie is definitely a better player than Derek White, but, Derek White's that perfect winning piece to get. So I knew he was going to get snatched up early, so I tried to get him as soon as I could. I definitely think I got the best defense here, personally. I think you got a close second, but I think I got the best defense.
Jacob,
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
I disagree with both of you. I think Alex has the best defense, and I'll use this as an opportunity to transition into my bit, which
J-Dub,
is
Jamal, and Harden
primarily
is
built
not as
on
good as
tearing you
Jimmy,
guys
Lowry,
down.
and Derek.
I'm gonna pee my pants, so I'm gonna be right back.
Meanwhile, I'll be complimentary of your team. Alex has the best front court defender and the best backcourt defender in the NBA on his team between OG and Gobert, as well as Chet roaming, allegedly positive defender James Harden. Now, his biggest liabilities are his point guard and backup point guard with Jamal and Darius. Meanwhile, everyone else is absolutely elite on defense. While your defense is still very good, I just don't think it compares to Alex's. Also, I think your most redeeming quality as a team is your eighth man. I think I kind of flubbed the Sengun versus Siakam thing. I would have preferred Sengun, or I would have preferred Siakam now that I think about it. When you said, I was like, yeah, I considered it, but I wanted to go big. But Siakam's like that perfect middle between big and wing, where on this team, in this 8-man rotation, he'd make a lot of sense. Whereas Sengun, it's like, okay, I guess you're going to pick up, 32 to 28 minutes a game while either big man is off the floor. But I think I got some of the best talent. Fit wise, it's hard for me to say because I'm just a filthy casual. But as far as wings go, I think I got the best wing in the starting lineup in Franz Wagner. Lauri Markkanen is very good. J-Dub is very good. But I think Franz is just a little bit better than both those guys. I think I got the best guard play between you guys. Harden and Jamal are very good.
Did you call Jamal Murray a liability on defense and I missed it?
I said the biggest liability is Jamal Murray, not that he is a liability.
Yeah,
that in that lineup.
I don't know. I guess it depends on how high you are in James Harden's defense this year between the two. Jamal's the smallest player on the floor, but yeah, Jamal's a positive perimeter defender. As far as, especially when he needs to be.
Yeah, in the postseason. For sure.
And I also bundled Darius Garland into that analysis as well. Either way, I'm not calling them liabilities per se. I'm just labeling them as liabilities relative to the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, and if we're just imagining these three teams facing each other, and this is the talent pool, then he would technically be towards the bottom of the tier list of defenders.
Yeah, my worst playmaker is Tingus Pingus. I got a lot of playmaking. I got a lot of shooting. I got a lot of length. I think my team is excellent in several ways. What were you going to say, Alex?
I think Wemby, Franz, and Porzingis are really inconsistent outside shooters. Like there would be games with those three where it gets pretty fucking ugly.
One thing I was going to say about my defense before we get too far off of that, I'm honestly thinking, like, I know Gobert as like a perimeter defender it doesn't work. But like thinking about, they run a pick and roll and Gobert gets switched onto a primary. It's like you can almost live with that because like you have Jada providing nail help, and then you have Chet who's able to like slide over and provide that help at the rim.
Normally, if Rudy's caught on an island, his backup help is not Chet Holmgren.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, you want to talk about like that sort of 1-2 punch in the front court as far as defense. Tingus Pingus and Wemby, I think, is right up there with you guys.
I
Jared
think
Allen
you don't
and
have
and
enough.
3J is very good. Gobert and Chet is very good, but Tingus and Wemby also very good. I think it's all kind of a wash at the end of
I
the day.
think
Maybe a slight edge toward Alex.
I think Jarrett and Gobert have more of a physical, like strong presence. Allen is not exactly like yoked out himself, and Gobert really isn't either. But like, I feel like they're harder to move.
Gobert's
is the
massive.
most.
Gobert looks like
is
he's
the
on
most.
steroids.
Gobert is the most out of these lists. I'm just saying he's not like 300 pounds tier.
No.
You know what I mean?
But he's freaking strong.
Right. And I think Jared Allen is pretty damn strong too. And I think Wemby and Porzingis, by contrast, that's your weakness with those two. You're getting the versatility and the shot blocking. All three of us have that.
Yeah.
All three of us have really good rim protection.
We might have over-indexed a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's cool because it kind of leveled the playing field for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I think I have the best guard play if you want to take it outside, since we agree that the inside is pretty even. Personally, again, I skew towards Alex just because Gobert is that dude on defense. But otherwise, kind of a wash.
I think the way this is shaping up, my honest truth, and this is me conceding the win, I think I have the best defense, Rudy has the best offense, and Alex has the most balanced team.
I think the biggest problem with Alex's team is the Darius Garland pick. Obviously, the pass is there.
Personally,
the pass is
I just
there.
needed a guy who
not
could,
been.
I'm going more off historical context, and
I just thought that Jamal Murray and James Harden is enough, like ball handling and creation. I imagine
J-Dub as your third guard, because now J-Dub's your bona fide wing. For me, I think my guard play, those top three guards are the best here. Fox, Bane, and LaMelo. All three of those guys getting 32 each at the two guard spots. That's a great guard rotation.
The only change I would consider making is, instead of doing Garland, doing a wing and just doing like Chris Middleton. But like, my concern with anyone else from like the guys that we were looking at, I'm sure there's other guys that I'm not thinking. Like, I considered even Kobe White instead of Darius Garland. Not that I do think Darius Garland is still probably a better player long term, but Kobe White has been better than Darius Garland this year. Darius Garland's missed a ton of time. I get that. But in hindsight, if I could do it again, I would probably go with Kobe White over Darius Garland, just to like get another guard, because I didn't want to do another wing coming off the bench. So I was like, yeah, I could do Chris Middleton, but I don't know. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Sabonis didn't make the non-All-Star draft either.
I just really don't like offensive centers unless they're like genuinely, at the very least, decent to good on defense. And that's where you lose me with Sabonis, at least just in terms of like how I would construct a roster if I'm free to do it, you know? Like, Sabonis is a good enough player, you'll take him and adjust in the world where you're competing with 30 teams, but I'm not. I'm competing with 2 people, so I'm going to just kind of have my philosophies find the players that fit them.
Yeah. So right now, Alex is in the lead with 36%. Jacob has 32%, and Rudy has 33%. This is on 76 votes. Originally, Alex was well in the lead after stating his case, but at this point, it's pretty even. So we got significantly more than that in the chat. We got 176 people watching right now. So I'm going to close the poll after, let's say, 100 votes. We're at 79 right now, and we're skewing towards Alex at 35%. I personally, I think that, like you said, my offense in today's NBA could potentially outweigh y'all's defense. Like, sure, Rudy Gobert and Chet is awesome, but none of that matters if De'Aaron Fox is just banging threes in your face all day. De'Aaron Fox also, huge snub. I think like would have been a worse snub than Trey Young would have been. I think he's having a great season.
I'd probably agree with that, Rudy.
I think he's the worst. I think he's the worst snub that like is actually a snub, but I think Trey was like marginally better. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's tough comparing such drastically different types of point guards and also guys who play drastically different roles, like as point guards. Like, not only are they very different players, but the role is so different.
Yeah, Trey doesn't have a Sabonis to initiate playmaking. For
Man,
his team
imagine
and
pistol
himself.
actions with Trey Young and Sabonis. That would be wild.
He's probably thinking about some other woman. No, I'm thinking about pistol action between Trey Young and Domantas Sabonis.
You know who I should have gotten instead of Sengun is Herb Jones. Should have locked it on defense. Got a guy like Herb Jones or Vince Williams, just gone all out glue guy.
Is
That's
it
my eighth
actually
man.
pronounced herb like that? I don't think it is.
give me the 7 herbs and spices. I wrote to 89 votes. Alex in the lead with 36%, myself with 33, and then Jacob with 31. 11 spots remaining to have your voice heard.
I'm pretty
in the
happy
democracy
that we
is
got
the shoot around.
something close at least. Like we're all within striking distance of each other.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
had a
would
little
be
bit
fun?
of ghostwriting.
Is after this, one of you, because I don't have the new 2K, one of you should put all these teams in the new 2K, injuries off, 8-man rotation for every team, yada, 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 and see which one would win.
I agree. That would be a fun
be
thing
really
to do.
fun.
We'll see that on Twitter in a few days. Other than that, I guess we can just do the Q&A while the poll wraps up. I only got 3 pinned from earlier in the chat, but we'll just start off with that. 3Cone, friend of the show, says, thoughts on Raymond Felton?
Thunder legend.
Thunder
Shout out
legend.
to him.
Knicks legend. I think he
He
averaged
put up like real numbers at points. Like
Mike D'Antoni made him a 20 points per game scorer, and
yeah.
then he started eating, I guess.
It's weird how a couple of times that is the history of Knicks players. He was pretty good, and then he just started eating.
Food in New York is too good. Food
Dang,
capital of the world.
That's crazy because it's actually true.
Oh man, it's all these cities with "new" in the name actually just have the good foods. New York, New Orleans. Let's see, is there even one more in the NBA that I'm forgetting?
There was a New Jersey, but no more.
My
Who's talking
hot
about
take
food
is
in
that
New
any
Jersey?
major city like you go to, there's going to be good food no matter where you go.
That is
Yeah.
And
a
only
hot
like
take.
there's only like 2 true like food cities.
Those being.
And New Orleans for sure.
Mhm.
Well, also like, do you consider like specialty food, like specific niche thing? Because New Orleans, I feel like New Orleans, you can kind of get a lot of different stuff there.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've got like Cajun is the primary thing, but then like Memphis, you can get, I guess it's not Nashville, but you can get the Nashville hot chicken thing.
Yeah.
You go to
The dry rub
San
barbecue in
Antonio.
Memphis.
San Antonio, you're going to get really, really good like Tex-Mex. New York, you can get pretty much anything. LA, you can get pretty much anything. What a weird tangent we're going off on right now.
I mean, I think if you just have a high enough population, there's enough people around you that can make good food. Just find it.
Yeah.
So Jacob is taking the lead in the poll with
Let's
4
go!
votes remaining, 35% to Alex's 33,
Oh, wow.
with me at 31. If 4 or 5 people could just vote for me and make me win, that would be sure nice. Sure would be nice. If
I thought I was going to win. Oh, well.
I thought you were
I
going to
thought my
win
team
too.
was
You're
pretty
leading the
good.
whole time. Jacob was in last place the whole time. I think Jacob is bot farming the poll, personally. I think it's rigged. Russia's involved. Nothing else can explain it. Brian K earlier said Gobert is not a championship caliber player. I've been saying it for years. Can't have a good offense around him. I don't
Shut
care
up.
what the advanced numbers say. The flow isn't there. They're not a threat till he goes. Isn't he, like, because he takes such a limited shot selection, statistically one of the most efficient offensive players in the
Yes.
NBA? Because he knows his fucking role.
Yeah.
This is silly. This is just wrong. Like, what do you
I don't
mean?
know.
What do you mean?
I've been hearing this. He might be right, but I've just been hearing it for so long that I'm just kind of like, whatever.
But like, what do you mean can't be a championship caliber player? Like, are we inferring that Gobert's presence is inherently a negative? Because that's stupid. Like, obviously, he can't be the fucking best player. Probably, maybe can't even be the second best player. But in terms of like being a positive in a postseason setting, Rudy Gobert can absolutely do that. And like the notion that he's just like getting cooked on the perimeter all the time, it's not really true. And the times that it has happened, it has been a schematic issue with his team and not his fucking fault. And I think Minnesota, given that they have especially like Cat as another big body, even his defense can be fickle, having Jaden McDaniels as a really great help side wing, a really long wing, the likelihood of him getting put out on an island and not adjusting to that is not the same that it was in his Utah days. Rudy Gobert is a positive, impactful player, and even in the postseason, historically, his defense is much better than when he's off of the floor. You know what I mean? Like, sure, there are caveats with his defense. Maybe that makes him overrated in a way, but not a championship player. What does that mean, though? That's just dumb.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm just going to let the poll ride until the end because, frankly, I want the right thing to happen. Give as much democracy available to the chat as possible.
You're just going to keep running it until you win.
What can I say?
All right, we're done.
That's why it's my podcast. This is an autocracy.
Whatever. I don't care about winning this if you're just going to scam the whole system anyways.
Not Zay asks, why isn't the shoot-around at All-Star Weekend? Long story short,
we're broke.
Money.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, we don't get enough super chats for that.
You think we make money off of this?
We do. It's
I
just
guess we
not.
do.
It's not All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, not All-Star. I have friends that have texted me and they've been like, "Are you going to All-Star Weekend?" I'm like, what kind of connections do you think I have? Like, what?
I'm spending thousands of dollars to go to Indiana. Give me a break.
It would be fun to meet up with a friend of the show, Mojo.
I mean, I don't like the All-Star Weekend anyways. Why would I pay to go to it?
Wait. That's a hot take. You don't like All-Star Weekend at all?
No, I have been net negative on All-Star Weekend for a long time.
I respect it, but I don't agree at all. Asher asked us, how many seasons do you give Monty Williams before firing him? If it was me, I'd fire him now, but I know that he has an in there with like ownership and stuff like that. Like the owner really wanted him, and so that's why he's there. So he's probably going to have another year, or at least half season after this one, bare minimum.
I think he already displayed enough obviously incompetent things right out of the gate that I'm just like, wow. I just lost so much respect for you as a coach that fast. It's crazy.
My general philosophy with like firing coaches is don't fire your coach unless you have like a clear, better option ready. Mm-hmm. So like if they have someone who's in that coaching staff who like they know will take over and do a much better job, then fire your coach.
They also have, I'm trying to remember the name of their GM right now. But Troy Weaver, he had a guy that he wanted to hire, and then the owner made him hire Monty Williams. So theoretically, you could fire Monty Williams, and that guy that Troy Weaver wanted can take the job because I don't think he got a job from anywhere else. So, yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah. Speaking of coaches getting fired, what are your thoughts on Doc Rivers being in the All-Star game coach? He's won 3 out of his first 10 games this season.
Why did that
head
happen?
Coach.
What was the technicality? Why did it have to be Milwaukee's head coach?
Because they had the best record in the East, I believe.
At the time of the selection. That's just silly.
Yeah. So
well, no, I guess they didn't. Why is it?
Yeah, because I don't think it was the best record. That's why I was confused.
Yeah, the Celtics have had the best record the entire season.
Yeah. That's why I was like, why?
I don't know. That's weird.
What's his name? Maybe he declined. I can't remember. I'm blanking
said, no, thank you.
Joe Mazzulla. He might have declined. That's probably what it was. No, he did. I remember that he had I think he had like a press conference about it or something, or someone asked him about it during a post-game conference. But yeah, I think he just declined.
Just like, I don't want to go to Indiana.
Someone in the chat said you can't be coach twice in a row, and Joe Mazzulla was the coach last year. Apparently. Is that accurate? Okay, yeah. So that's what they're saying in the chat. You can't be coached twice in a row.
Yeah. Shout out to chat for filling us in on what.
Thank you. I did not know that. I learned something totally new today.
Learn something new every day, and
I'm gonna forget. But cool.
I just want to say I'm thrilled Chris Finch is coaching in the All-Star game. That's really cool to me.
So ending the poll after 111 votes, Alex got 35% of the vote, Jacob got 34% of the vote, and Rudy got 30% of the vote.
Wow.
Damn.
Thank you all.
I lost my 1%. God damn it.
I'm pretty thrilled right now. Thank you all. This is my Super Bowl.
Just like that. Well, thank you for tuning into another episode of the Shootaround, everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful All-Star weekend. We will catch up with you guys not this Monday, but next Monday. So in about another week and a half or so. Enjoy the break from basketball. Go outside, touch some grass, do whatever it is you do without basketball.